Hi, everybody. DJ Yoakley with another special season right here on YSN. It is Crestview Coaches Corner with the head ball coach, Paul Cusick, and it's brought to you this year in part by iSynergy. iSynergy, they worked up our website that you watch and you utilize every day. Make sure if you've got a website, you head over to iSynergy, home in Canfield, right here locally. So it's very cool. And by Crestview grads, nonetheless, Coach Q. So those Crestview kids out and about doing great things. And I know that your Crestview kids going to do great things this year. First and foremost, we got to catch up. It's been a long summer. You're looking phenomenal, down almost 20 pounds. Talk to me about how your summer went and how you lost all those LBs.
Well, we were able to go some different places. My wife and I and family, we were able to get out and actually go on vacation a little bit, which was nice. But, she kind of got me on the kick of Weight Watchers. She wanted to lose some weight, and I just figured I might as well do it too. And we've both done really well. She's worked hard at it and kept me on track. So, and I go out and walk and run as much as possible. So do all those little things. And that's just works.
I told you got to be careful. You're going to start looking like a baseball player again. You got
maybe.
That football coach.
Take some BP.
All right, so let's get to the season. A lot of experience lost last year upon graduation, but there's still some of the bullets left in the gun, so to speak, for Crestview, and one of them being your signal caller. Talk to me about expectations for your team. Your expectations from a coach really never flutter. They never change. Talk to me about your expectations for this year's Crestview bunch and how you're going to carry it out.
Well, expectations, we always expect to compete for a league title, get to week 11. We're not going to change those expectations. Now, how you get there might be a little bit different this year. We got to grow up. We got a lot of young guys playing, guys that haven't been playing on Friday nights. This is their first experience. So they got to step it up. They got to figure it out. And we as coaches and our upperclassmen that have that experience need to be the leaders and kind of hold their hands, so to speak, and get them to where they need to be. So the first 3 weeks of the season is about, gaining some maturity, growing up as quick as possible, and trying to get in what we want to get in, that is Crestview Rebel football.
And it's interesting because week one, it was challenging. You're going up against a very, very good team in Salem, and obviously not the outcome you wanted or really were looking for. However, there were some growth moments during that game when you watch film. What moments stood out to you heading into week two that you take and you say, okay, this is what we did really well, and this is what we need to work on?
Well, I think if you watch the first half of that game, I felt, our kids were not up to speed. They didn't understand varsity football, and that was the difference. Their experience, and, they got, 18 or so returning starters, and, that's the way it is. You got to be able to compete against those teams and play at that varsity speed, and we could not do that in the first half, and we got dominated. Flat out, that's just the way it works. Second half, we made some adjustments at halftime, and the growing moment was, okay, we're going to come out at halftime. Are we going to fold our tents? Are we going to whine and moan and point fingers, or are we going to show some pride and win the second half? And that was our simple goal, was win the third quarter, then win the fourth quarter. And we did that in the second half, and I thought our kids really played hard and executed and proved to themselves that, we can do this. I think we had 2 10-play drives there. Our defense made 2 stops, and so that was good that they saw that. And now they have to realize, what do you got to do now to take that into Monday at practice, and then this week, Friday night, into the game?
Obviously a storyline nonetheless, not one we're going to harp on all season, but one we have to address early and on. Often, your son, a senior, obviously, he's been a great player all the way up through. Last week, there was a lot of people calling for points. He seemed to grow up before our very eyes. Anthony Cusick, the signal caller for Crestview, growing up before our very eyes. And then last week, he really took the bull by the horns. I felt like when I was watching that game, he was a guy that was getting in people's faces and saying, hey, we got to kick it up. And exactly what you're talking about, that second half of the football game, he's taking this as part of his legacy in what he's trying to etch at Crestview, correct?
Yeah, it was, first half, very disappointing. He was under a lot of pressure. They were in his face. They were doing a good job of getting to the quarterback, confusing our young offensive line. And that was tough. We had some drops early, and that adds to the struggle. But, in the past, he may have really got frustrated and let that out. And, I just talked to him a couple of times about how he had to be positive, because they're going to feed off of his energy. And he's a high energy type player. He's the guy that we really feed off. He's just always a high energy player. And he really provided some of that in the second half. But the bottom line is he made plays when we needed him to. And, he felt like, man, I played my worst game. And I said, you can't look at that. Look what you did in the second half, and you led our team to where we needed to be, let our guys gain some confidence. And you got to be the person that does that. That can, by position and by experience, you're our guy. And that's the way it goes. And he's been very accepting of that. And I think each and every day at practice, he learns a little bit more of that, because for a high school kid, sometimes that's not always easy to do, but you have to do it.
In what ways does he remind you of yourself at that age in a senior role as a senior leader and really as a captain, growing into the role over 3 years and then really taking it again, bull by the horns in season 4?
Well, I think competitiveness is one thing that he's very competitive and wants to win everything. And, sometimes, it boils over and you have that quick fuse, and sometimes he has that quick fuse like I had that quick fuse, and sometimes I still have the quick fuse. But the difference between me and him is he probably shows his energy more outward. He's very loud and tries to get guys pumped up by getting in their face and talking to them and getting them fired up that way. I was more of a quiet player, so that's a little bit different. But by the nature of the position, I was a running back, he's the quarterback. Quarterbacks need to be like that. They got to be sometimes not everybody's friend and tell them good with the bad and take the blame. If we throw a pick and we ran a wrong route, it's the quarterback's fault. If we drop a ball or tip a ball and it gets picked, it's the quarterback's fault. And I told him, you got to accept that. If we get sacked, it's your fault. Just take that. And that way the other guys don't feel the pressure, and you try and deflect the pressure from them onto you. And you just have to have broad shoulders. So I think that's the learning process, and that's what I try to do as the coach. Unfortunately, when you win, the players played great. When you lose, the coach is an idiot. That's how it works.
Talk to me about the maturity. I saw it on the football field against Salem. Anthony has stepped into a role of maturity. Not that he didn't have it in the first 3 years, but you saw it in spades on Friday night, Thursday night. I'm sorry. So when you look at that, is that something that you look at? I mean, every coach wants their quarterback to make mature decisions, both on and off the field. And it seems like he's really stepped up to the plate this year.
Yeah, and the reality is, when you're a high school kid, you're going to screw up. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to do dumb things, and if you don't learn from them, that's when the concerns come. And Anthony's had his ups and downs on the field, and he's learning from them. And I think he's had some great guys to play with through the years that he's learned from. And anytime you have a senior, whether it's a quarterback, lineman, whoever, if they can learn from the guys that came before them and respect what they did and understand what the program's about, and then try and carry that on, that's the key. And he understands that. He might go about it a different way, because sometimes, I ask him, man, just turn the volume down a little bit. And he's just not like that. He's a loud, out there, he is, and some people don't understand that. He's not trying to be cocky. He's not trying to be arrogant. He's just an excitable person and wants the best for his team. He doesn't get concerned with all the stats and everything. He just wants to win. And, I think he plays quarterback kind of like a point guard. He's just going to distribute. And I think that's key, and that's what we need. We got to spread the ball around this year. We don't have one game breaker or anything like that. We got good players on offense. We need to get them all the ball, and that's his job.
We are here at episode 1 of Crestview Coach's Corner with Coach Q. Coach, let's turn the page. It's Southern this week. Everybody says Southern's down, but their head coach never has them out, right? When Rich Wright is on the sidelines, you can never count him out. Talk to me about what you're expecting against this Southern team.
Well, I think that they're always going to be very consistent with what they do. They're going to stick with what they do and get it done. They're not going to try and waver and make stuff up. And that's what you want in a program. If you're trying to build a program, you're going to do what you do and try to do it well. And Rich has always been like that. He coaches his guys up. His staff's going to coach them up. And the thing is, it's nice to go play an old TCL school, get back in the county, get those old rivalries going again. So I think it's important for the county. Kind of nice. It's going to be 2 young teams going at it. So, I think it's good for both teams to get that experience and just get that old TCL feeling back again. I think it's important that we have these types of games.
keys to success for you?
Well, I think it's just going to be simple. We got to execute, and we got to be the second half team that we were last week, not the first half team. And hopefully our guys learn from that, and we are the second half team and come out playing varsity speed.
Very, very interesting. I like those. All right, now it's time for getting to know you a little bit better off the field. We're going to give you a little would you rather this week, Coach. This one's interesting because I've gotten all kinds of answers all over the board. Would you rather be 1-9 and beat your rival, or 9-1 and lose to your rival? Playoffs don't matter at this point.
Well, that's an easy question for me right now because we don't play any of our rivals. You know, and I miss playing my rivals, but we're going 9-1 and we're beating our rivals. Period.
Oh, look at you.
That's the way it works.
Look at you, the trickster.
I wish we would get those games back because they're fun for the communities. But you know, beating your rival is special. So that's a very tough question. But I want to win games. You know, I'd say 9-1, and that way you're in the playoffs and makes it easier to forget about that one loss because we've been there before.
All right, we talked about Anthony a little bit. You said you were running back, and he's a quarterback, obviously. What about your son would you love to be back in the backfield with him in your prime and have him be quarterback? What is the trait that makes you want to play with your son?
Well, I think sometimes it gives me obviously gray hairs if you look at my beard here, but he's a gunslinger type quarterback, and he's going to make a lot of plays for us, and we have to live with sometimes he's going to make some throws that you're just thinking, what in the heck are you thinking about? So I think that type of quarterback, just always trying to compete and make plays for your team, you know, I would be excited to play for someone like that and play in the same backfield with. And I know like Rockland is like that. Rockland's a great compliment to Anthony in the backfield because Rockland is Mr. Steady, Mr. Intensity, and it's a good yin and yang with those two.
I like it. Coach Q, as always, we thank you for your time. We're looking forward to another great season, and next week, another great question. I'll try to tip it a little bit so you can't tip me on my side on that question, but well played.